here. I'm here with my daughter Mia. Hi Mia.
Hi.
And we're gonna make a pizza dough that is made specifically to use in a home oven, such as the one I have behind me here. Just a standard oven. I can probably get this to around 550 degrees. Maybe I can push it a little bit further with a few things, but let's just say that's all I've got, about 550 degrees to work with. I also have, as you know, I have pizza ovens outside, wood-fired pizza ovens, and I realize that not many people have a wood-fired pizza oven, and you'd still like to make a pretty good pizza in a home oven. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you the tools of the trade here, what you're going to need, and exactly how to make a great pizza dough for cooking indoors. The tools: mixing spoon, a couple of big bowls. I use one of these little whisks for dissolving yeast into the water. You're going to need a scale that goes up to at least 2 kilograms. And I also have a small scale. I don't know where I put that. Oh, here it is. And this little scale here, I think this cost maybe about $12, but my dad gave it to me. This is a scale that'll go to the 1/10 of a gram, and that's what I use for measuring my salt and the yeast. Okay, so those are the tools. After your dough is made, you're going to need a container. This is a 5-liter container. Got a brush and olive oil to brush the container before putting the dough in. Okay, so first of all, I'll tell you about the ingredients here. Okay, we have 1 kilogram of all-purpose flour. The flour really doesn't matter what kind you use. The technique is probably the most important thing. You can make great dough with just about any flour, but today we have all-purpose flour. We have, as I said, 1 kilogram. I've already measured this, but this is an easy recipe because most packages, in Japan anyway, are packed in 1 kilogram packs of flour, so I don't even really have to measure. I just open the pack and use it. I know they put maybe about 10 or 12 grams extra in there, but that's really doesn't cause a problem for the recipe. And this is 670 grams, not milliliters, but 670 grams of very, very, very cold water. Okay, if you don't have very, very cold water, put some ice cubes in it and swish it around in there and get it very, very cold. You probably see a little condensation on the outside because it is so cold. We have exactly 1 gram of yeast, pre-measured, and this is 26 grams of sea salt. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. First, get all the water into the mixing bowl. Okay, next, we're going to put all of our yeast, get it all in there. It's only 1 gram, it's very, very, very little amount. And we're going to dissolve this yeast. Get it thoroughly dissolved. Okay, that looks pretty dissolved there. Okay. Next, we're going to take about half of this flour and add it to this mixture. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfectly half, just roughly half. And we just want to get this all moist. This is going to kind of create a buffer between the salt and the yeast, because salt kills yeast, and we've already used so little of yeast that we don't really want to kill any of that very little bit of yeast. So let's get a little bit of flour in here mixed. It doesn't have to be perfectly mixed. As you can see, it's just a little soupy. You can see that. Just a little soupy and lumpy. Okay, but that's good enough. That's fine. Okay. Next, we're going to add most of the flour. But we're going to leave like a handful. Just about a handful. I think you can make out how much flour that is in there. Just about a handful left. The rest is in here. Okay. We're going to add the salt. And we're going to gently try to get everything moist and distribute the salt. Basically, the only thing you're doing here is trying to moisten things. You don't have to worry about mixing or kneading. You just want to get everything moist. The key to getting a dough that's easy to work with is getting a dough that is evenly moistened throughout. So we'll start by doing that. So you notice I'm not really folding any of this. I'm just trying to cut the water into the mixture. Okay, good. Now that that's kind of mixed, I'm going to go ahead and use a method I call the pulling and pushing method. So I'm going to pull and push down. Pull the mixture and push down. So now this is kind of taking on a pattern of kneading. And it's starting to come together now as a ball. And you see the residue. There's a residue along these edges here. We're going to get all that too, so don't worry. So right now we've got just this clump. Okay, just pulling and pushing down. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of that flour and I'm going to clean off my spoon here. By the way, if you're not already doing so, be sure to set this video to high definition so you can see everything up close. You can see the textures that I'll be showing you as I go. So now we've got this kind of a clump here. Okay, there's nothing smooth about it at all. Okay, but we're gonna get there. So I'm gonna just lightly flour my hand here with some of that flour that I left over. Now I'm going to start kneading. And I'm going to show you something that a lot of people worry about. And I'll tell you how you should deal with it. Okay. When you start kneading, you're going to notice your hands get sticky. Or this stuff sticks to your hand. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Just keep kneading. It's going to feel really, really wet. That's fine. And at this point, resist the urge to add more flour to your hand. So don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. Just pulling, pushing down. And you're gonna notice, see how dirty my hand is? Well, dirty, messy. Okay, that's fine, it's perfectly fine. It's a very wet dough. Right about now, we're going to do something here. We're going to clean off everything, your hands, the bowl, and everything, so we can let this dough rest. And when we come back, it should start to smoothen out. Okay, so I'm just going to clean my hands with some of this leftover flour. And I'm going to clean the side of the bowl with this leftover flour. Clean the bottom. Okay, so I'm not going to be losing any residue here. Looks like I'm going to get pretty much everything. Just a quick clean of my hands. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you can see my hands, not too bad, okay? Still have a clumpy looking thing, it's perfectly fine. I have a little bit of flour left. I'm going to just dump that on top. I'm going to use this bowl to cover this bowl. And we're going to be back in about 7 minutes maybe, okay? Okay, so we've let this dough rest for a little while, and we're just gonna go ahead and start kneading the rest of that flour. Remember when we left off, it was just this kind of clumpy stuff we just kind of cleaned the bowl sides and then threw in the rest of the flour. So that's what we've got to work with. And so I'm gonna just gently loosen it off and kind of distribute that extra flour around it and get started. So I'm pulling and I'm pushing down. I'm pulling and then pushing it into the center. So I'm just going to keep doing this. This is going to be working in the rest of that flour. And we'll begin to see that the dough loses its over stickiness and starts to just want to stick to itself. Okay. Okay, so far we've got it. We've got some smoothness going on here, but we're gonna break that smoothness because right now our goal here is to incorporate the rest of that flour that's kind of just lazily sitting on the bottom of the bowl, and we also want to make sure that all the flour and all the moisture is thoroughly mixed. And we're gonna let this rest a few times. So total, we're gonna let this rest 3 times. We've already let it rest once. We're gonna let it rest 2 more times. And the final time, we're gonna get it nice and smooth before it goes into the container. So just kind of get that stuff. Those things on. Okay. I'll show you where we're at there in a second here. Okay. First of all, notice a couple of things. Okay, so it's come together quite nicely. It's still got some like tackiness, and really not a whole lot is sticking to the heel of my hand there, as you can see. So that's exactly what you should expect after giving it a nice rest. Okay, so we've done that, it's nice and mixed well, but we're going to keep doing it even more. So we're going to give that another rest, and we'll be back. Okay, we're back after that second rest, so let's see where we're at right now, see what that looks like. Okay. I'm just going to continue to knead it. You can kind of see what kind of texture we're getting there now. Okay. It's more gummy-like. See it prefers to stick to itself for the most part. The bowl is pretty clean and my hands are fairly clean. See that? Okay. So we're going to give it one more rest. Okay. And we'll leave it like that. One more rest. Okay, we're back, and that was the final rest we're gonna let this have. So this is what we have after it's rested, and we're not gonna give it too much of a. Oh, before we start, I want to get our container brushed with a little bit of olive oil. That's clean. Okay. Don't really put too much, just